Shabbat Shalom. It's really special to be here with you all, those within the walls of the sanctuary, and also those joining virtually. And it's extra meaningful to be here with you, Libby, and your family and friends. You have done a wonderful job today in reading from the Torah and offering your words of wisdom on the importance of creating communities of equality. You have taken on this life cycle with maturity, commitment, and responsibility. You've worked very hard on top of your schoolwork, your acting and ballet, and your friendships, to also take seriously becoming a bat mitzvah. Libby, I'm amazed at your resilience. It has been quite the year for everyone, but week to week, you came to our lessons with a smile on your face, a joyful story to share, and often a puppy on your lap. I speak for your parents, your siblings, and your friends and family joining, both here and joining over Zoom, when I share with you a very hearty mazel tov. I find it quite fitting that your portion is the daughters of Zelophehad, a narrative of a group of women using their collective voice, as you are also someone who honors your relationships and is not afraid to voice your opinions and share your thoughts. We don't know the conversations that the sisters had with one another before they found the courage to challenge Moses, but there is a midrash that gives us some insight. In Sifrei Pinchas, we hear this narrative. When the daughters of Zelophehad heard that the land of Israel was to be divided according to tribes, according to the males and not the females, they gathered together to make a plan. They said, God's mercy and compassion is not like the compassion of mankind. Mankind favors men over women, and God is not like that. God's compassion extends to men and women alike. As it is written in Psalms 145, verse 9, Adonai is good to all, and God's mercies are upon all of God's creations. According to the midrash I just shared, the daughters of Zelophehad had a theology of equal divine love given to all people. The daughters understood that the inequalities they were experiencing were a human-created social construct, not reflective of their worth or value. They saw the discrepancy between their belief in an equal, just world and the unequal societal laws which had stopped them from inheriting their father's land. In the end, as you so beautifully read, they were successful in changing the law so future brotherless daughters could inherit the land of their fathers. As Rabbi Silvina Henin reflects in the Women's Torah commentary, the story of these 5 women offers a compelling lesson for all those who believe that their destiny is fixed or that divine justice has abandoned them. It encourages us to think differently and provides a message of hope for all those faced with obstacles. She continues, perhaps the most important legacy of Zelophehad's daughters is their call to us to take hold of life with our own hands, to move from the place that the others have given us or that we have decided to keep because we feel immobile, and to walk even to the most holy center to where nobody seems to be able to go. And yet, that isn't the end of the story of the daughters of Zelophehad. Much later in the Torah text, the family heads of the clan of Manasseh come forward and complain to Moses that if the 5 daughters marry into a different tribe, then their share would be lost to the tribe of Manasseh. And so it is decided that they need to marry within the tribe, and they do. Not to mention that the change of laws brought on by the 5 sisters still excludes sisters or daughters, or sisters rather, who do have brothers from receiving their father's inheritance. They had made progress in the social construct they were born into, but there still remained much left to change. We all have found ourselves in the place of these brave sisters, advocating for change and even enacting change, only to find ourselves still in an imperfect system, still in a society that calls for more from us. In reading the Torah portion this week, I found myself reflecting on the brave men who courageously brought joy, celebration, hope, and yes, even change to this country not only a week ago. Of course, I'm referring to the men of the England football team. And I have to start with an apology because I must admit that I became a football fan about a month ago, so apologies for mispronunciation of names. Like so many others who have never been invested before, I found myself wrapped up in the excitement of the last month of football. I've had David Baddiel's Three Lions song as a lasting earworm for the past month. But as I read about these young men and their wise leader, Southgate, I found myself swept away not by their football skills only, but even more so by their courage to be like the daughters of Zelophehad in trying to bridge the gap between their ideal society and the fragile, fractured, and often damaging social constructs of our modern day. On Tuesday, June 29th, Joe White, a queer, non-binary lawyer who co-chairs the first and largest LGBT+ fans group for a major football club in England, attended the England versus Germany game at Wembley Stadium. Following the game, which, as an aside, we all know was a win, Joe posted on Twitter, "This is a really small and personal point, but today was my first game at Wembley in full makeup and overtly queer, as opposed to just camp. Absolutely no issues from fans and some lovely chats. Despite being absolutely petrified pre-game, really proud of our fans." Jordan Henderson, beloved midfielder, shared their tweet on his own page and replied, "Hi Joe, great to hear you enjoyed the game, as you should. No one should be afraid to go and support their club or country, because football is for everyone, no matter what. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the rest of the Euros." Like the five sisters, Jordan Henderson was using his voice to bridge the gap from what is to what could be. Or take Marcus Rashford, who helped to raise £20 million for Fair Share. At 23 years old, or rather 23 years young, he launched his high-profile campaign to make sure children eligible for free school meals were fed regularly when schools were shut during lockdown. Lindsay Boswell, Fair Share chief executive, said, "Marcus's support for Fair Share over the last year and his commitment to tackling child hunger has simply been incredible. His own experience of relying on free school meals to eat brings authenticity and compassion to his campaigning, and his status as a Premier League footballer means people and politicians sit up and take notice. He too is bringing us closer to what could be, what should be." As a longtime fan of 4 weeks, I wanted them to win, not only for the excitement and joy it would bring after a very challenging 18 months for everyone, but because these men and their commitment to bridging the gap deserved the joy and celebration. They didn't win, and football didn't come home, but these footballers had made a nation feel more connected to their home and more proud. The daughters of Zelophehad were given the rights to their father's inheritance, only to have their future marriages determined for them. These young men of the football team came closer to winning than any team had done in 55 years. I think that number is right, yes. And after their defeat, they were met by far too many with the darkness of overt racism and bigotry. And so they, and we, must keep on striving for more justice, because the work is not done. As Gareth Southgate spoke, "It's just not what we stand for. We have been a beacon of light in bringing people together, in people being able to relate to the national team, and the national team stands for everybody. And so that togetherness has to continue. We heal together as a team now, and we're there for them, and I know that 99% of the public will be as well." Libby, about 18 months ago, George and I had the delight and honor of seeing you in the West End production of Leopoldstadt, Tom Stoppard's newest play. You were poised and talented, and it was a remarkable performance. You shared with me in our sessions how meaningful it was for you to be involved, how kind the other castmates were, and how, because of your own Jewish heritage, you felt connected to the story. Tom Stoppard was born in 1937 as Thomas Straussler in a small town in Czechoslovakia. As the Germans invaded their country, the family then moved to Singapore, where there was an outpost of the firm for which his father, Eugene, worked as a doctor. The Japanese onslaught forced another evacuation, this time to India, but Stoppard, his mother Martha, and brother Peter went on ahead. Eugene was killed as he attempted to leave. And so Stoppard grew up largely in Britain and took the name Stoppard from the Englishman his mother married after his father's death. In the program notes for the play, Stoppard shares that his own mother rarely spoke of her own history. A previously unknown relative made contact with him in the 1990s, and from this relative he learned about his mother's family, many of whom had perished in the Shoah. The play reflects this same narrative. It follows decades of a family's story, starting in the beginning of the 20th century in the crowded Jewish quarters of Vienna. And the end of the play shows a young man reckoning with the history of his family that, like Stoppard, had not been known to him. Reflecting on the play, he has shared, "It's not about me, but it's a play I couldn't have written if I hadn't lived the life that fate has dealt me." The final scene of the play is one of the more striking scenes I have seen. The 40-person cast, including you, Libby, all posed as if in a family portrait before the stage goes black. There's an emotional scene in the play where the young man learns of his family's history and begins to really see himself as part of their narrative. There's much depth to this play, but I left the theater that night thinking about the importance of knowing where you are from and the willingness to see yourself as part of the whole, and being mindful, like the daughters of Zelophehad or the footballers, of how you engage in the imperfect world with open eyes. To know that society as it is today is built on assumptions and stories and fears, but also hopes, and that we each play a part in it. And Libby, this too is what it means to be a Jewish adult, to see yourself as part of the whole, to not accept a society that reflects anything aside from the theology of the daughters of Zelophehad, a theology of love and equality and safety for all people and things. It's a big responsibility being a Jewish adult, but I know it's one that you will take on with seriousness, and you too will do your part in bringing us closer to where we could be, while also celebrating the beauty and joy of what is. And that is my challenge to you, to be like the 5 sisters you so admire and use your voice while never letting go of your joy and zest for the sacredness of what is. It is my great honor to present to you a Siddur, actually a Mahzor, as a gift from the congregation. May you use it regularly, and may it travel with you throughout your life so that your connection to your faith can always be a pillar that grounds you and also inspires you. Mazel tov and Shabbat Shalom.